Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Super Deluxe Gamescast. It is Thursday, July 7th, and man, what a week it's been. Interesting. Some old favorites coming back next year. We've got a lot to talk about, and we have a very cool guest. I've been wanting to have her on the show for a long time now. PR guru Stephanie Tinsley is on with us. And Stephanie, I'm actually wearing my Enter the Gungeon beanie for the first long time.
Thank you for representing.
This is just for you. This is just for you.
Go buy Enter the Gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon is fucking awesome. I mean, this is the beanie that helped me become an internet meme for a little while.
And a real gamer.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing it now, because I want everybody who's watching
to know that. Proud of that.
I've got street cred. Oh, Derek, I am proud.
I'll never get over the time I was at PAX, and it was when you were really regularly wearing the beanie, and I started talking to this large, muscular guy wearing an Enter the Gungeon beanie, telling him about how my morning had been going for like 5 minutes before I realized he was not listening to me, and he was not you.
So to take away, there's two lessons to be learned here. One, Justin needs to pay better attention to his surroundings, and two, I am the most generic looking motherfucker on the planet.
Hey, that was the weekend we found a guy that looked exactly like me, and my own mother was disturbed by the picture that we sent.
That was really fucked up. We found your variant that day. Stephanie, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. This is something that I think it's going to end up complete chaos.
But no, that's every podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But I did find the thread, so I'm good to go on that.
Oh, excellent! All right.
So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm good. It's been a busy week. I'm actually coming to you live from Cape Cod, where I'm not having any amount of relaxation whatsoever at all. So this is like a very nice, hopefully start to a great, calm, relaxing weekend.
We are gonna.
A bunch of my family's down in Cape Cod right now.
Awesome. Where about?
Sandwich.
Oh, okay. I'm in Harwich. So
cool.
Shout out to the witches.
Wait, there's a place called Sandwich?
Yeah, Sandwich, Massachusetts.
So you can just name a place that?
I know.
Dude, I want to live in
Sandwich.
It's a nice little town.
Sandwich. I want to live in Sandwich. That's awesome.
They have a good country club?
Yeah.
A good
club Sandwich?
Oh.
Never mind. I'm fucking
Jesus
stupid.
Christ, Derek. That's wow. That's the fucking worst.
I thought she was leaving. I thought she was just leaving.
I'm 2 sits in. I'm only getting gayer and more chaotic as time goes on. So
I would not.
I don't have any alcohol.
If she had.
So yeah, no, there's
don't worry, we're making
I had that same reaction. Yeah, I had the same reaction when I passed the sign. It's a giant sign at the end of the Cape. It's a sandwich. But there's a fucking place called Sandwich.
So for those watching and listening later on podcast services, Stephanie mentioned that she found the thread. Now, before we start talking about the week's news, Stephanie has a little story to tell us. A very interesting story. I've been waiting to get all the details on. Stephanie, please, by all means.
So I promised that I would come on your show and tell this story, because before 10, 15 years ago, I was like, story, like ever. Like no one will ever know that I ever did this. And now I'm like, come on your podcast and tell the story. So we were tweeting, Don and I were tweeting back and forth. He actually tweeted about that Lauren Boebert rumor that was going around about how she was like an escort or something like that.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. And I said, I think I saw that film, and I just made a joke, right? And then I sort of followed that up with, speaking of like political porn, like real porn, right? That my friend's dad in LA was, I think he's retired, long retired, but he was an adult movie producer. And he was the guy behind a film in the mid 2000s called Nailin' Palin.
Oh, God.
Wait.
You
know what? Nailin'
There's no
Palin.
way you don't know about this one, John.
You can guess the plot.
I can imagine what the plot is.
And Eminem even brought it.
CJ's like, oh, it's my favorite. Like,
Oh yeah, it's on my Letterboxd top 4. Yeah.
Oh
my God.
And I said something like a bunch of my friends actually were extras in that film, because what an opportunity, because that was, I mean, talk about like the height of political discourse, was like at the height of the Sarah Palin, vice presidential campaign, or like whatever was happening there. I can't even remember. And but I couldn't go. I wanted to go and like be like the person that like comes in and like hands somebody like a water bottle on camera, but I couldn't go because I had to DJ an event out of town. I had to DJ EDC, the Electric Daisy Carnival. That weekend, I used to be a club and rave DJ in LA, and so that sort of so that tweet sort of opened a big can of worms, and everyone was like, okay, first of all, what? And second, tell me about the DJ thing. And then I sort of started going down memory lane of like, my 20s. And I remember I was reminded that, of like a pretty large part of like how I have a career in video games is sort of woven very loosely into like the porn industry, which
that's so cool.
Which like you would never like how do you bridge that gap, right? But the story is, and so if I can tell the story.
Please, no, of course.
So and please, if there's, I don't know, like if there's questions or whatever from whoever's, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, jump in. So back at the start of my career, like I had quit my very corporate high-tech PR job where I talked about like server storage area networks all day, and I fell asleep saying that. So it was very, very boring, and I was in my 20s, and I was like, this is not what I want to do with my life, and I quit. And so I was kind of like wandering, I was kind of floating around doing odd jobs, and I was still DJing, and I was very, very poor. I did not have a lot of it. And I was couch surfing at the time. And I had a degree in PR and public relations, and hi, Kitty. What a very pretty kitty. Sorry, someone, for people not watching this and listening later, there's a cat.
Yeah, sorry, Zeke stopped by.
Yeah.
It'll be a couple seconds before I get bit.
Never apologize for the cat.
Yeah, that cat needs no apology whatsoever. Handsome. So anyway, I my friend at the time who was letting me sleep on his couch, I'm going to try to remember the sequence of how this happened. His roommate's best friend's brother owned an animation studio, and they did a lot of cinematics for games in the mid-2000s. And this was before the Xbox 360 launch, when graphics weren't quite where the sort of creative inspiration, was at, right? Like we weren't 360, we weren't Xbox One. I mean, this is like back mid-2000s. So you would have these animation companies make these very elaborate trailers that sort of communicated, like, it was like the live animation box art of like muscular god guy, like this is what you're supposed to look like, but actually you're in 32-bit. So he was looking for some PR help because they were doing a big cinematic and trailer for a big game. It was the sort of the last big game. I'm not going to name names, but it was the last big hurrah on the original Xbox. And they had done a lot of work, and they wanted to kind of get their name out there among the video game industry because they wanted to get more work. This was, great, continuous revenue flow for their studio in Hollywood, which is actually in the Valley. So if you're not from Southern California, if you're outside the Hollywood, Los Angeles area, and you're over the sort of mountains there, you're in like the Valley, like Valley Girls from the 80s, for those of you who come on. So they're out in the Valley. They're looking for more work, and so he's like, well, the friends, roommates, brothers, sisters, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. She's like, hey, do you mind if I like hook you up? Well, maybe you could like do some freelance work for them. And I was like, yeah, maybe, sure. I mean, fuck it, YOLO. And so I met the guy's brother for breakfast, not the owner of the animation studio, but the guy's brother for breakfast. I had no idea what he did, but he was basically screening me before he introduced me to his brother. And I started doing some work for this animation firm. I got past the sniff test, right? I started doing some work for this animation company, freelance. My first freelance job. This is my first thing in games ever. I had like maybe played Tomb Raider, but like I was like a jock in middle school and high school. I grew up with like a very old Atari 2600 and then the NES, and then like we couldn't afford like the Genesis, right? Like after that, like my parents, because we didn't have a lot of money, and so like I kind of was like a jock and played a bunch of sports. So I'm in this, I'm doing work with this animation studio now, and he's like, hey, I'm kind of cool with this guy at this point. Like I've been doing work for them for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. And he's like, you're cool, you're hip, and I've kind of told him like, oh yeah, I'm like a rave DJ. Like I also like do a bunch of clubs and like and at the time like I wasn't like ever huge, but like I wasn't like a nobody, right? Like we had a pretty good following. I had a decent mailing list, and I'd spin in some magazine articles. I was on the cover of some magazine in LA, and he says, my brother, and I was like, yeah, the guy that I met that introduced me to you all those months back. He says, yeah, he actually so he owns a porn studio, like an adult film studio, and I was like, cool. Like I'm not, like all right, I don't. Turns out he wasn't just like a guy that owned a porn studio. This was one of the co-founders of the people that made a film in the 2000s called Pirate. Now, this film was one of the. Have you all seen Boogie Nights?
Oh
yes.
Yeah, for sure.
You've all seen Boogie Nights, right? Mark Wahlberg, Burt Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
The heyday of like film, adult film, limos, coke, money, like the whole thing.
Events played in theaters. Yes.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Right. Okay. So, they have what is the biggest budget for an adult film ever, and they have shot this thing on the boat that they filmed the actual Pirates of the Caribbean on. It's like
They shot this on the Black Pearl.
I don't think a lot of people know that, but they kind of fudged their way onto the boat. And
yeah, I figured that can't be that official.
They kind of fudged their way onto the boat was my understanding of the situation, and
it's an educational film.
So suddenly I don't know where the boat is, but somewhere in Florida. So suddenly you have like people walking around that area that are clearly not local to that town and that port. I mean, you have Jessie J walking around regularly down, she's a very, very famous porn star from Star, who was the star of Pirate. So they said, we want to do a film event. We want to do a film premiere, a Hollywood film premiere. Can you do that for us? And I was like, yeah, let me go find a venue. They said, well, actually, we called the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. The Egyptian Theater in Hollywood is an 800-person theater. It is legendary. It is historic. It is on Hollywood Boulevard. It is right there. It is so Hollywood. So they give us budget, and I'm like, I could throw like a party in my sleep. Like I had just produced the Esquire magazine Oscar party, I think the year before, for AIDS Project Los Angeles. So in West Hollywood. So it was like nothing. I was just absolutely. So I throw the premiere event. We closed down Hollywood Boulevard. We got those Klieg lights that do this, right? Like the big Hollywood.
Oh, you got those spotlights. You got the big Hollywood spotlights.
Yeah. I hired all my guy friends as security and one real armed security guard. And my guy friends were like wearing headsets and dressed in black suits, and they were the shadows for the female stars that showed up. We got a 30-foot long step and repeat. I got Belvedere to sponsor the award show. I know. And so this comes around to video games because just like a video game, there was a sequel. And so it was such a success. The thing was in Hollywood Reporter, New York Times. Like I didn't do PR for it. Like I was like, I don't want my name on this. I was freelancing for a couple of other people at that point. Very like I was still like eating ramen for like most of my meals, but like I was like I had an apartment at that point. Like I had like a shitty studio on like Normandy Boulevard in college. So a couple years later, they call me up and they're like, "Can you do the sequel? We've made Pirates 2," and I'm like, "I can do that." They have gotten the Orpheum Theater. Now you may know the Orpheum from old E3 press conference venues. Because like I think Ubisoft used to have their press conferences there. I went to the Orpheum because I think Harmonix rented it out for like Rock Band launch or some shit like that with Led Zeppelin. Like it's one of those historic theaters downtown. But at this point, I'm like fully in game. Like I am not just freelancing for this animation studio, but like I'm working with like Atari, I'm working with other companies, and I'm doing their PR. And like I'm like, yeah, I can moonlight this event for you, no problem. If you've handed me the Orpheum, let's double the budget and see what happens. But this time I invite like the entire editorial production division of G4 Television because like I'm friends with all those people at that point. I invited my friends from the game trailers. I invited like, some writers I knew in Hollywood. So not only am I now producing this event with like, and now this and Pirates 2, like if anybody just Googles Pirates 2, like first of all, this first film.
I'm going to Google it right now while we're talking.
Bring that right up in the Google cache. The producers of this film did a national college tour for film schools. They cut out the hardcore sexy stuff and it was sold into distribution for Blockbuster as an NC-17 film. It was like a bad B-movie film, but like historic for the adult industry to have a video get cut down and then like internationally distributed. They did, I think they did like TED Talk. The thing was a smashing success that broke every record in adult film history. Like it was just ridiculous. And then I think they were purchased by like a different company that's called Admini. So, but I had like Belvedere sponsoring this thing. I had Step and Repeat, and the stars of the film were so cute because no one had ever done this for any of their films ever, right? So they would do the Step and Repeat and talk to like the 20 press and the press head, and then they would go around the back and then walk the red carpet and do the Step and Repeat again. Because it was just like camera snapping and everything. But then like I had like all my like the producers of like X-Play and like the editorial folks from G4 at the time and like all my gamer friends. I was like, you guys need some seat fillers. Like this is like a 2,000 seat auditorium. And it was only like, I think it was only about 3/4 of the way full. So I was just like, you guys, you all got to come in and just come have a good time and come watch the porn. And they did. Oh my God. So like we had a blast. We had like fire spinners and it was crazy. It was mayhem. It was absolute mayhem. And so when I look back, I know this was a long story, so everyone listening at home thinks I'm like putting up my bullshit. That's the full story. Minus a couple things here and there that happened after the accident. But that's kind of like how, as I sort of grew in my career and how I got started in my career, that I found a sort of home in video games in part thanks to porn. So
thanks, porn.
That is the most interesting, like, what a way to get into the games industry.
That's an origin story.
I have heard I have had multiple people on the show tell me how they got into the games industry. This is the first time I've ever heard anybody tell me a story like that. That was amazing. And I just want to point out to everybody, we need to give Pirates 2 its full respect. It's not just Pirates 2, so I Googled it. It's Pirates 2: Stagnetti's Revenge.
Stagnetti's Revenge,
okay.
And I think so. Who played Jack Stagnetti?
Jack Stagnetti, or no, Victor Stagnetti.
Victor Stagnetti.
Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn. I knew that. It wasn't Evan Stone. It was Tommy Gunn. It was the other guy.
Tommy Gunn is an excellent porn name.
Tommy Gunn is a really good porn name.
He was a very nice guy. He was everyone was super professional. Everyone was super lovely.
Honestly, most of these people are probably super fucking cool. So
everyone was really, really cool. Like I think it was doing the first one was so super rewarding to me because, like I said, they had never been celebrated porn in general, I think, especially in America, where we're all fucking, Puritans who have missionary sex for reproduction purposes.
Through a hole in the sheets.
Through a hole in the sheets, right? And then shower immediately afterwards, and then pray. We don't, it's like literally everyone in the entire world loves porn, but no one talks about it, and it's something to be shamed. And so until this premiere, none of these folks, none of these movie stars, these adult film stars had ever had anything like this happen and done for them. I mean, this was easily a sort of like, I would say probably like between $250,000 and $300,000 party. Like we did some damage. You know what I mean? Like it was high. I mean, I don't know the full budget. I just know sort of my budget for it because I wasn't involved in the venue stuff and the insurance stuff, but like or licensing or anything like that. But like it was pretty. I mean, we had like pirate band. We had like 3, 4, 5 full bars. Like there were 800 people there. The entire industry was invited and celebrated. It didn't matter if you were in the movie. If you wanted to walk the step and repeat, like we had an extended step and repeat that went 20 feet. Step and repeats are usually like 8 by 8. We had an extended step and repeat. We had bleachers because that's how many press people showed up to this thing.
Oh my God.
It was awesome. Like it was like the people from the film were the ones that we got limousines for. So they pulled right up Hollywood Boulevard, and then they step out, and then these big lights are going on either side of them, right? And they step out, and it's like the paparazzi pit like kind of goes in an L, and like their faces are just like, what is this? Like I had friends of mine that they do. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of the Do Lab, but this is before they were the Do Lab. They have a big section at Coachella. They throw a big festival called Lightning in a Bottle. But at the time, we were all very, very close because we were all ravers. And I hired them as one of the first paying gigs that they ever had to light the courtyard, the entire courtyard of the Egyptian Theater. And then they did all the lighting on the inside and the entrance, and they lit the Sesame Street. And it was just like it was awesome. It was super magical. And so porn and video games sort of, like I said, loosely intertwined, and here I am.
I gotta tell you, that is one of the coolest origin stories I've ever heard. That was fucking fantastic. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing that.
I'm happy to share that. So
that is exactly what I needed.
And that's the good part of the show. So
yeah, like it's all downhill from here, guys. So again, thank you to Stephanie for that incredibly entertaining story. That was fucking awesome. So we do have some video game related news to talk about. First, we are going to get into what we've been playing the past week. And we'll go through this one quickly. Derek, why don't you kick us off there, pal?
It's real easy, and this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who knows me, but I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's me, a Monster Hunter game. Who could have known? I like it. I'm weirdly cool on Monster Hunter Rise compared to a lot of folks. I'm enjoying it. I liked World a lot more. Sunbreak is more of Rise and better, and it's fixing some of my issues with the game, but it is still overwhelmingly easy and very arcadey compared to the games in the series that I enjoy. Like I really liked a lot more of the mainline series of like 3, 4 World versus the arcadey ones like Generations.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were never a huge Generations fan, right?
No, I didn't really like Generations. And like part of the people who do.
I remember you saying that.
It just wasn't the way I wanted the franchise to go. And then World was, and then Rise is very much a continuation off Generations, but it's new Monster Hunter content and I still enjoy it. So I'm having a good time, but I'm not super far into it at this point. So not a lot to say.
How long have you been playing Monster Hunter? Like, is the franchise?
Oh, since the original on PS2, believe it or not. I'm a weirdo. Yeah, that's I actually remember wanting to play the second one and never finding a copy and not finding out until years later that it just never came to the US. So it's not that I missed it somehow and never came across a copy somewhere. It just never came over. So then 3 or Try on the Wii was like a big revitalization for me. But yeah, that's I love the series. I love that more and more people have gotten into it. I do love it becoming a little bit easier and more accessible for people. I'm definitely not part of that Monster Hunter crowd that, wishes that this was the most punishing thing ever and kept people away. But yeah, so I'm having a good time with Sunbreak. But this has also been a busy week, and I haven't had a whole lot of downtime. So a portable game is perfect for that.
Outstanding. I'll go next because I'll be quick. I like to go quick. I've been replaying Valkyrie Profile. Simply because it's a great fucking game. Valkyrie Profile is one of my favorite games of all time. And I think it's fucking fantastic that it's coming out on PSN the same day as Valkyrie Elysium. But before Valkyrie Elysium comes out, I'd like to have another replay of Valkyrie Profile under my belt because this is supposed to be a direct sequel to Profile. And it's just an amazing fucking game. I've been replaying Final Fantasy VI.
I was going to joke about that, and you're actually
John,
doing
how
it.
many
God
playthroughs
damn
have you done this year?
What's wrong with you,
John?
What's not wrong with you?
So this is important, and I'm speaking to everybody listening right now. Right now, we are living in an incredibly shitty, depressing.
Oh, you're gonna pull this card. I can't.
Say you like the game, John.
I can't give you shit if you pull this card.
What, dude? You know what, Derek?
You know
what, Derek? This is why I'm playing it. I have an extremely high stress job that I won't talk about here, but the whole world seems like it's fucking burning down. And right now, trying to find that sliver of happiness wherever you can find it is more important than it ever has been, in my opinion. So, it doesn't matter if it's games. Final Fantasy VI is a comfort game for me. It's a safe game for me. It doesn't matter if it's games, TVs, music, books, food. Find something that makes you feel safe. Find something that makes you feel warm, and find something that makes you feel happy. And do that shit over and over and over if you have to. Because right now, like I'm trying my hardest to fucking cope as best I can with everything that is fucking happening. And I feel like my entire world is about ready to crumble underneath my feet. And I am grasping for anything that will keep me afloat. And so I'm doing things that make me happy. I'm replaying old games that made me that make me happy. I'm listening to music that I haven't listened to in a while that makes me happy. And I'm here talking with all my friends right now, and that makes me happy. So find something that makes you as happy as Final Fantasy VI and my friends make me.
I love you, and I'm not gonna yuck your yums.
I know. Now, like, how do you come back from that? Like, I can't even like throw a funny insult in there because I'm like, oh, that was so hurtful and genuine.
In the show.
No, CJ will absolutely yuck my yums before the end of the show.
He's gonna find something in the show that's gonna make us like, oh man, shut the fuck up. And
it always without fail.
A lot of tact persona.
CJ, since you wanted to jump in, what are you playing this week?
You know what? I did the impossible. I played 2 games back to back in my backlog. Done. I actually played 2 games. And I got speaking of, I got a review code for the Klonoa collection like just an hour ago. I am so excited to play this game.
Okay, so I've never
You're
played
gonna love Klonoa. Yeah.
Either. I've never played a Klonoa game, but I love platforms.
Klonoa's good.
I'm so excited.
They're great. They're relatively simple, but they're a lot of fun. They're surprisingly heartfelt. They're incredibly charming. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to the most. Everyone tells me like the vibes are good. It's just
you'll cry at the end of the first one, probably.
That's what I keep hearing. I'm excited. Also, I wasn't here last week. Fucking Pac-Man World got a remake. Hell fucking yes. Let's fucking go. Another Namco platformer I never played. Platformers are my bread and butter. I played Becky. So back to back. I signed up for that PS Plus, that new PS Plus membership, because they're giving me a discount for like the rest of the year to just like upgrade. So I downloaded Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut. I played through all of it. It's fine. I finished it. It's like it's fine. I took a lot of nice pictures, and I liked the combat. Its story was the most boring shit in the world. I wanted it to end like really. I finished at 2 a.m. because I was frustrated. I'm like, shit's so fucking boring.
This sounds like a great fucking experience, CJ.
It wasn't great. It wasn't. That's the thing. I mean, it's a fine game. It occupied my time for a bit because I wasn't playing anything that wasn't a review game or a multiplayer game. Like I think the last thing I played before then was I played Splitgate with Justin, and that's it. And then I just like stopped playing games in general.
I've just got this mental picture of CJ at like 1 a.m, like, fuck this game, this sucks. I can't believe I wasted all this time.
I'm not kidding. So 2 a.m, I'm on the final boss. I put it down to easy. I'm like, fuck this game, man. I fucking hate this shit. Don't make me put in work towards the end. It's fine. It's a very shallow samurai game that has some good combat. And then
I'm sure people will love hearing it.
Yeah, fuck them. I'm not on Twitter anymore. It's fine. What are you gonna do? Anyway, and then I played immediately after that. I played Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I've had for years. It's the only game in that series, in the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, I hadn't played, and it's like one of Christine's favorite games. So naturally, I played through it.
Is Rise the second or the third one?
I
can never keep
the second one.
I can never keep the title.
She's not the Tomb Raider yet.
She hasn't been the Tomb Raider yet, but the third game is Shadow's still my favorite because I think it refines so many systems from the first 2 games perfectly, and it's also maybe the best example of like a AAA game that takes every single system you played a billion times and polishes it down like perfectly in a way where it's not like exhausting. Because everything.
Man, do I disagree about Shadow?
So you know what? So wait, hold on. See, yes. Hold on, CJ. I got a question. Did she become the Tomb Raider after Shadow?
No.
She's still not
of course
Tomb Raider.
not.
This is the prequel. This is the prequel trilogy. At the end, she's more confident in her. Like she finally like realizes, okay, like what this journey has been about since the beginning. It's just weird that like you basically have to get tortured for 3 games straight to like be a fucking Tomb Raider. Anyway, Rise, the second game, it's pretty good. I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it. I think this is the closest thing any AAA games have come to feeling like pulp, like novels or pulp magazines or anything like that, because story isn't the emotionality of the story doesn't necessarily get in the way of like the over the topness. I think something like Uncharted is too concerned with being prestige as opposed to like its origins are in pulp. It's like an Indiana Jones style serial, but it's also trying to be this very pristine.
It's interesting to try to view that through the lens of like old pulp adventure novels, and I kind of I'll need to think on that approach.
I love pulp stuff. That's like my all-time. Like I'm a sucker for anything kind of grimy, kind of gross. The Northman, great movie, right? Gross, disgusting, bloody, but it's still too clean. It's still too clean of a movie.
You might be losing me.
I get it. No, I mean I get it. I
see what you're saying.
I enjoy Naughty Dog's games. I must have movies. I enjoy Naughty Dog's games for that very reason. Is that it's just a seamless sort of unfolding. Pulp is not the right word though. You're absolutely right. Like it's.
We're in this age where every AAA game is like this hyper violent and like angry thing, but nothing is actually angry or mean or gross anymore. Like I love the new God of War, but it's kind of funny how he went from like this sword and sandals kind of thing on a level of Conan, and now we're at like it's sort of grown up, right? It's kind of funny. Even something like Wolfenstein 2 is very pulpy in its presentation, but its message is very.
That fucking game.
It's very sincere, though. You get what I'm saying? Its message is very sincere.
Kill Nazis.
Kill Nazis because of like everything going on now, right? If you watch the movie from the 60s about killing, like an old, what do they call it? Macaroni war films, where they're about killing Nazis. They wouldn't give you the message there. They would just kill the Nazis, right? So I was just thinking about that this entire weekend while watching, because I've been doing nothing but watching movies because I'm fucking.
I will never understand and put together a profile of what your tastes are. You only continue to confuse me over time, and I love you for that.
One more thing. I did some retail therapy because Barnes & Noble has a huge Criterion sale and Arrow video sale. So I bought 3 things this paycheck. Next paycheck, I'm going to buy another because I want to spread it out because So obviously I picked up the 4K copy of A True Romance by Tony Scott, which I'm very excited to watch.
Hell yeah.
That's a solid fucking pick.
Tony Scott's like becoming one of my favorite directors ever. I'm so excited. It comes with this nice little like art booklet full of like these essays written by directors and everything. I got John Ford's My Darling Clementine, which isn't a pulp western. It's probably one of the most sincere westerns ever. Because John Ford is like the master of that craft. I got Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate, a movie that killed like one of the most like important and like prominent directors of his generation and bankrupted United Artists. It's also almost 3.5 hours long. I'm very excited to watch it. That's all I've been doing. If you want to hear my movie opinions, go follow me on Letterboxd. The last time I was on a podcast where I talked about movies, I think I rambled too much about like Tony Scott for like 10 minutes. I'm like telling you. But yeah, that's about it for me. I think the only thing I'm playing up next will probably be Klonoa. Oh, and as I was telling Justin, like the next game in my backlog, I'm gonna start Control soon because I never got around to playing.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Control rules. I love Control.
I haven't played that either.
Control has that complete lack of like emotionality and sincerity to it, and it's very buck wild. So if you it's very like weird pulp.
Yeah,
pulp is a word for it, but like it's cleaner than that in aesthetic.
Yeah,
like
you know what?
I don't know. It's a wild one.
Like the way I view Death Stranding, where Death Stranding's mood is like, okay, it's very much pulling from like something like Solaris or Mirror or Stalker, right? Where it's not pulling from like anything sort of conventional. So I'm excited. I'll
it's like counter Prestige almost.
Yes. Yeah, because it's more pulling on whatever the director's personal tastes are. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's been my week.
You've had a busy week.
Every day. I was gonna skip this podcast to watch a movie before.
I'm glad you're here, CJ.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're here.
I was gonna go. I'm like, oh, there's like 15 more westerns in my Criterion channel. I gotta go watch.
Jesus,
you almost skipped us for Dead Cowboys.
Yeah,
good to know,
man.
100%.
The dedication,
Justin,
and I admire that.
He is a very dedicated individual. Justin, what have you been playing this week?
So first, I want to talk about a game I played a couple weeks ago because I haven't been able to be on and talk about it yet. The Quarry from Supermassive.
Oh yeah. I still haven't played this.
It fucking rules.
That's what I've heard.
I'm so glad that it turned out the way it did. Like, I'm a big fan of Until Dawn. I really enjoyed Until Dawn. The Quarry, I think it's a little bit different in like how it focuses, and I think it has a different set of like strengths, but it really does scratch a lot of the same itch as Until Dawn. And I just had a blast with it. It was just a really like it's the exact same kind of game, you know. Basically playable movie, you know, what you do decides who lives, who dies.
Does it run better? Does it run better than Until Dawn did?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Until Dawn, I messed up really badly in one scene. I made one tiny little error and immediately got three of the main characters killed.
Good. That's the whole point.
Speedrunning death.
That's like, the whole point, Justin.
I had been doing so well keeping people alive up until that point, and I'm just like, well, that chapter went poorly. But no, the Core is a blast. If you're a fan of like that style of horror movie or game, check it out. If you liked Until Dawn, check it out. It's definitely a lot more substantial than like the Dark Pictures games. I really had a lot of fun with it. But since then, I've also been like working really hard on this season of Destiny. I love how they have handled the seasonal storytelling. This season, they fixed some issues with how they, how you access some of the new content for each season. Because before it was like, oh, if you weren't at the max level cap from the previous one, then you have to grind so that you can access the story content. And it just put me off. But like, I actually have completed the title for the season. So it's cool. I haven't actually earned a full title in Destiny yet. It's always like a series of challenges, mix of certain like a lot of different things, collectibles, playing through the story stuff, as well as some grindy stuff. And so I got my first title done, and I'm also at level 89 on the season pass. So I'm gonna finish that, which I've never gotten very far into the season pass before. I've talked about it a few times, but I kind of fell off a lot with the seasonal model and how they've been handling it in Destiny. But I love this season. It was really, really good, really fun. It was really rewarding. And I think it's kind of like the new benchmark for how to continue like keeping people invested in a story and having a storyline play out in like a service game. It's remarkable how far it's come from where Destiny was before. They finally have the tone down. They finally have characterization down. They know where they're going. Yeah, it was really satisfying to do, and it feels like really good to be back into the game and see the game in such a great spot and knowing that this team is now in charge of the future and where it's going, and they have a plan and everything's feeding into that makes me really excited to see what's next.
So, Justin, I've got a question for you about Destiny.
Sure.
Did you get your pre-order in for the Nerf gun?
No, because the Bungie site is broken and won't recognize that I have the Triumph for it.
I was joking, and the fact that you're this pissed about it is amazing.
I spent hours trying to pre-order that shit today. Are you kidding me? I was trying to pre-order the Nerf Gjallarhorn all afternoon.
Why'd you bring it up?
Keeps telling me my email's not verified, but I verified my email years ago.
Justin, you were the fucking best. I love it.
It's a sore spot
I
for
love
Justin.
it. I'm like mildly joking around Justin, and Justin's like, no, and fuck them because of that shit. And I was like, oh wow, I was not expecting that. Although to be fair, if I was a Destiny fan, I would also try to get a Nerf Gjallarhorn. As you could see behind me,
did you see the size of it?
I don't like video game collectibles at all. So
did you see that? I wasn't gonna get it, and then I saw it's like actual size, and then I'm like, okay,
yeah, it's
well,
huge. It's like a fucking
it.
shoulder-mounted cannon. Like it's fucking enormous.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get it, and given that they responded with, we've had an unprecedented number of customer service requests when I tried to contact them about it, and the fact that it was still in stock, I have a feeling not many people have been actually able to order it. So, but I do want to try to get it because it's awesome.
And Stephanie, can you talk about anything you've been playing this week?
I can. So, and this is gonna suck, but like I don't play a lot of video games for fun anymore, and I haven't in a long time. It feels like work oftentimes, which sucks.
I can understand that.
But I will say, when I do play video games, it's usually like unannounced games or like broken, shitty alpha builds, or like, you know, like a bit like I'll do like great demos. But I don't I just can't keep up with the amount of releases and things that I want to play and game for fun. It's just not like I run a small business and game PR, right? We work on a ton of games. I will watch a lot of videos of games, and I'll go, oh, I really like to play that. Like you said, Monster Hunter earlier, and I was like, meh, because I think I'd really enjoy that, but I just can't. Like I just not get dedicated to it. There are franchises that I will drop everything for, like, which just sucks. But like Fallout is like my favorite franchise, but I don't like online multiplayer games. So I personally, so I have never played 76. So I've just been kind of like holding out for a single player Fallout, and that news a couple weeks ago where Todd Howard was like, and then in 2031, Fallout's gonna come out, and I was like, okay.
We'll all be dead by then.
Yes, we will.
So I have a 5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old, and the 5-year-old is she's super interested in video games, but I've kind of tried to like the screen time, right? Because I don't play a lot of them. She's not really like she's like what she doesn't even know what I do for a living, right? Like it's like I think I mentioned once that I was like, do you even know what I do for work when I've been going to work? And she doesn't know what that means, but. And I told her, I was like, I work in video games, and she just started giggling. She was like, "Oh, you're so funny." It's all fun and games. But so we have, so I've gotten her some like kid Switch games, and we play. So honestly, like the things I've been playing the most recently are like Fall Guys and
Fall
like
Guys. Great, I love Fall Guys.
Lego Harry Potter, and like like just I'll just go to the eShop and buy like whatever rated for 5-year-olds. Like there's shit out there, but she really likes Lego Harry Potter because she's seen the first 2 Harry Potters. And she thinks Fall Guys is like the greatest game ever made, and it very well might be. And shameless plug, I helped launch that game, so it's kind of cute when they're and I'm just sad at it. They're like, so I wish I could say like, oh, I've been playing fucking whatever, and I
think part of the secret of any creative industry that not a lot of people on the outside will ever know is there is a certain amount of, it's not even that like the magic is gone when you work with it, because everybody always has that passion, but like you don't want to keep like people who write books do not sit around reading all day, right? People who work on games do not sit around playing games all day when they're not at work, right? I work in television and local news, and I do not watch a lot of news or read a lot of news because it's my job. And like I'm passionate about it, but I make multiple podcasts. I don't listen to other people's podcasts, right?
I don't listen to podcasts.
Right. So I mean, but that's just the secret of it. Like you can be passionate about it, but it's like I do not have the bandwidth to experience the thing that I work on.
Oh God, me neither.
But it's tough in my position though, because you kind of have to be able to know what you're working with. So I do play, like I'll play a few minutes of everything, and about a few minutes. I mean, like I'll spend like half an hour doing that, like
yeah.
So that I understand the controls, I understand but I can talk to the developers and like look at a video, and there's there's games I love. There are games that like have absolutely wrapped themselves around my soul, but it's so few and far between. And when I'm not at work, like on the weekends, or if I take a long lunch or something, I'm going hiking, like I'm going biking, I'm going fishing. I've got 2 dogs that are more like drunk small forces that live in my house that want my attention. I have children. Like there's just so many other things that I do now, and there's nothing wrong with not gaming as a hobby anymore. But like I feel there's sometimes it feels like I'm just like the industry's biggest poser, because
it's probably a lot of people who feel that way if it makes you feel better.
I mean, I understand what makes a great game, and I can play them. I'm just not good at them, right? Like it's like the Dean Takahashi Cuphead thing is like burned into my memory, because one time I had to demo Hotline Miami at a PlayStation event. And we did that in Malibu because Devolver, this was like forever ago, right? But Devolver was like, you live in Los Angeles, they're going to set up the kiosk for it. You just go down and talk to whatever press are at this event. And I was like, okay. Like I know everything about Hotline Miami, but like I'm fucking shit at that game.
That's a hard game.
No, but that's just a hard game in general. That's throw you the sharks right there.
But like at the same time, like I was like, yeah, I'm fucking okay. And it's in like, then of course, like game trailers comes by and they're like, so tell us about, do you mind if we shoot some footage of you playing? And so it was like, this is before the Cuphead moment, but like, it was like my Cuphead moment where I was like,
yeah. Thank goodness that Twitter mob didn't exist at the time.
God, I know.
So the weird part is that as a PR person, the Twitter mob literally never comes after the PR people. I don't know why that is. I think it's because we're so specialized in what we do that like people think this PR thing is like this nebulous machine where we're all fucking corporate monsters and like we're all just like a bunch of nerds that got into this industry because it's cool and we like video games, and we're literally we're just like everybody else. It's just like we just have a different set of priorities that we need to accomplish for our jobs, right? But the mob, the Twitter mob, I've never really seen them like come after a PR person because I just don't think that they understand what we do, and I don't think they understand. They don't know who we are. Yeah, like I have like a lot of followers like on Twitter that are in the industry and journalists and stuff, but like the fans that follow the journalists to harass them are not the people that either know or care who I am. So I get it. Like honestly, like I'm shocked. My feed, my Twitter handle hasn't been burned down more times than it has, and that my career hasn't burned down already on social media, because Like, it's coming. I know it's coming. And I'll accept it when it happens.
It comes for all of us eventually.
I have Sauron comes for all of us. Yeah.
One time I've written a few articles for numerous gaming outlets across the years, and every time people tell me, John, either don't read the comments or don't search your name on Reddit, and I never follow their advice, and I'm always surprised by what I find.
Did I ever tell you guys about that one comment that wasn't approved on my Call of Duty review?
No.
Oh my god!
Was this for Black Ops Cold War?
When I
your review of that was scathing.
Well, here's the thing.
In some ways.
I'm not necessarily afraid of any. The only thing I'm afraid of is when I mention a game's hard. Because I fucking, like you were talking about, I fucking suck at most games. Especially
I'm not good.
Which are my all-time favorite genre, but platformers for some reason they're like the worst genre in the world when it comes to difficulty. Crash 4,
no, very difficult.
Anyway, so I reviewed Black Ops Cold War. I talked a lot how overall it's fun, but it's incredibly racist and like demoralizing, and I couldn't support this. I don't think I could support this studio anymore or this series anymore. And then in October that'll change, but. I can see who comments on things before they get approved. I used to be able to over at Game Critics, and then someone went on this whole tangent about me being like a fat beaner Mexican whatever whose only good thing is like mowing lawns and cooking food. Dude got nothing right. First of all, the only thing he got right in that was that I was fat, but I had my profile picture in the review, so that's just cheating. I'm not Mexican. I can't cook for shit. Wow. I don't know how to cook grass. It was the absolute funniest thing I've ever read. And it didn't get posted. I just saw it before it was like deleted or before it was like denied. The only time I've ever gotten any hate on any review, and the absolute funniest thing ever. I think I've told you guys. I think I told you guys about it.
I don't remember it. You might have, but I don't remember.
I think you told me about it one time.
Maybe, yeah, where I'm like again, the only thing that stood
out. I feel like
was,
I'd remember that one, but
like the only thing that stood out was, of course you guys know I'm fat. You saw the fucking picture.
Didn't he also have like a thing at the end that was just like, it was like hedging, like he's like something about being illegal or not, like just because he didn't want to assume,
So he not only assumed that I was Mexican. But he didn't want to assume that I was whether or not I was an illegal immigrant. Incredible, just some incredible. That is some good fence sitting right there.
A few years ago, I wrote an article for Polygon about how video games or like talent in first-person shooters will not translate to real world. To being able to fire a weapon in the real world, right? And I happen to be something of an expert on the subject, having done both. And the best comment I saw on that article was because I talked about my credentials as a veteran, as a combat veteran, blah 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 blah, and went all the way down talking about the specs of an M16A2, blah 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 blah. And at the very end, I made an argument for gun control, right? And I said the real problem is the fact that anybody can get a fucking gun. Like that's the real problem we have. And some guy in the comments, I shit you not, said, for 95% of the article, I thought you were based, but it turns out you're just a cuck. And I'm like, what? I was like, what? I was like, I'm sorry to disappoint you, man. Like, I don't know.
Why did you think you were based until that last part? It's the same fucking argument.
Yeah, I'm just literally talking about how to fire a gun, and he's like, I thought you were based, and I'm like, oh, okay.
If I can never hear the word based again in my life, it will still be too goddamn soon. These fucking weirdos.
So CJ, I was laughing about that shit for a whole week. Just like, I thought you were based, but it turns out you're a cuff.
But it's like, how did you get through the entirety of that except for the last sentence?
And that commenter, Jordan Peterson, weirdly.
It was absolutely. I think I just broke CJ. I thought you were based. But
no, I'm sorry. It's just that's on the same level of like every single again, like where it's like, oh yeah, I like this thing until it became woke, and I'm like, how did you like this thing in the middle of reading something?
Yeah,
and like you transitioned you flipped your side immediately. Like within the span, you didn't have to comment the first half.
How dare the boys become political in season 3?
This
right?
guy was defending video games, but then he made it woke. Like, okay, sorry, bro. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, man. All right, fucking E3 guys, we got so E3's coming back.
Thank goodness for an actual news topic dropping today too, because it had been a quiet week. I was gonna have to bullshit on some news topics for the show, but
we could Derek, it's SDGC. We can bullshit about it, fucking literally anything. But so E3's back, and this time it's being run in part, I think, by ReedPop. I think the ESA is still involved in some capacity, but ReedPop is the one actually organizing the event. And for anybody who doesn't know, ReedPop is that's the organization that does like PAX and all that stuff. So at least I'm not worried about people's personal information getting doxxed. So that's good. But so how long has E3 been gone now? What has it been? Like it was
3 years, right?
3 years now, something like that.
2019 was the last one.
Okay, so it's been after 3 years, E3 is returning. For the past 3 years, we've had Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest.
There's been ups and downs to that.
There has.
Like,
I am really interested. No, Derek, please go ahead.
I was going to say some of the presentations and shows have been good. I think it's hard because very little replaces the in-person experience, both as the opportunity for a lot more people to get their hands on, get their hands on and get in for interviews, and the networking, right? Like it's the same reason PAX is such a big deal, is because networking is huge, and that's just, you can network online and it's not the same as meeting people in the Westin lobby after hours, right? But like at the same time, and this is something that previous guests have pointed out, but this shift to everything being digital has also been very good for like disabled journalists who would not be able to make it out to these in-person events, and who are now getting to like remote try out games. We've normalized the like Zoom and Discord interviews and things like that. And it's been really good for disabled journalists. I'm very excited to see E3 come back. I'm very excited. I think what I hope is it maybe puts a bigger focus on media than the public, which is unlikely to happen. I know, but
doubt it.
It seems like cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Like it's
kind of hard to put that back up.
Yeah, you can't go back on it becoming a public event,
and that it doesn't come as with an excuse to then go entirely back to the old way, and that more folks are still willing to do E3 interviews digitally, instead of because again, there's too much great talent out there, too many great reporters who are not going to be able to attend, especially during COVID. I mean, for their own safety, things may be getting quote unquote better, but like there's still a lot of people who are highly at risk and who are not going to be safe attending something like that. So.
I want to know. So I want to know what Stephanie thinks about all this, because like, Stephanie, you actually work in the industry. This is something that, and of course, like a huge venue like E3 coming back is something that affects your job to a great degree, I imagine, given the nature of your work, marketing and PR. Is this something you were expecting, and is this something that you are glad to see, as opposed to something that's a lot more virtual like Summer Games Fest?
That's such a complicated question for someone in my position, because I'm exhausted at the idea that E3 in person is returning to the LACC, but I just have so many questions, right? So first of all, Jeff Keighley has done a Herculean job of producing 3 events throughout the year that have become, by and large, the de facto events for people
Yep.
like me and teams I work with to be involved in some way for earned duty opportunities. The man reaches literal millions of people whenever he does an event. And E3 press conferences back when big publishers were still going to E3 at the OATP never managed to do that. They were always much smaller, right? On Twitch, on YouTube, the metrics never hit what Jeff Keighley has been able to do. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out. I'm personally tired of, I have digital event fatigue. The media has digital event fatigue. It's a lot of work. But the past 3 years have presented a lot of opportunity for smaller games and more journalists to be involved, like you're saying. So I mean, when I start to unwrap all of the various elements of sort of how I feel about it, how I think about it, there's me personally, there's my business, there's my clients, there's the industry, right? And then there's just sort of like how I see things, and then how the media is going to cover it. And I think to the point it was just raised, E3 was a show that was designed and produced by the ESA as a retail show for the industry. If you were in the industry in some capacity, come to the show. That's how you got to the show. The public couldn't just decide that they wanted to come in and try a bunch of games, and then it was like, yeah, you work at GameStop, you're a Walmart, channel buyer, yet, and that's the business of the industry in terms of publishers showcasing their wares for these Walmart and Best Buys and Kmart's and Target, and getting deals signed, distribution deals signed, partnership deals signed, and it was the business of the industry. You have two things that happened over the past 10 years that have both happened in significant quantities. Number one, digital sales are the dominant form of sales for games.
Yeah, and it's not close either, right, Stephanie? Like it's pretty lopsided. Yeah.
No, it's like it went like this, like it.
Yeah.
Right. There's still a place for retail. You have some companies doing some really interesting things, like Serenity Forge right now is they're carving out their space in retail for small indie games and putting together packages of physical goods to go to your Walmarts and your Best Buys, and that's really cool because these are games that someone browsing the game section of Walmart would maybe never otherwise hear about, right? And they've been doing a very good job at that. So there is a really interesting sort of entry point right now happening in the retail space, and you're starting to get like cool shit along with buying a game, right? And there's a market for, it's a tiny market, but there's a market, tiny comparatively, market for physical games and collectors of physical media, and that's cool. But if you don't need to have a show for retail anymore, because all of these retailers, they all have their own show. They all have their own shows, and you as the company, you go to their show and you pitch them, and that's what you do. GameStop has like a whole week out in like Scottsdale, Arizona or something. Walmart has their own show. And then you have another thing that started to happen around 2015, 16, and that's that huge AAA studios decided that they weren't going to go to E3 because they weren't seeing the ROI of spending $1 million something out of their budget to go have a booth on the show floor when they could just throw their own event.
I remember when Sony pulled out of E3 and that was like a huge fucking sea change for the industry.
Yeah.
Like that was massive.
But EA does its own thing a few days before E3. And then you have, more than a handful of other companies that were like, yeah, we're not going to go either. And the last E3 I went to in 2019, you could bowl down a corridor in West Hall and not hitting anything. There were just wide open spaces with like a few chairs. And then that's not an exaggeration. Like I think if you go back in my Twitter archives, like you'll see like the photos from 2019 where I was like Henshaw Hall was closed. The concourse was like half full. South Hall was like okay, but West Hall was like maybe half full. So you've had this convergence of like then E3 is trying to make it like a fan show, but they're not a production company, right? The ESA is not a production company, right? So they brought in some sort of outside companies that tried, right? I'm sure they tried their hardest, but I don't know. I've never been in those organizations, and I don't know how they sort of operate or what sort of barriers does that company or those companies came up against. But it just sort of, they really fumbled the fan entrances and the long lines. And the first year that they invited fans, they didn't even have security. As an attendee, I was like, I don't feel safe here.
I remember. So we've got a lot of friends who are journalists, and I remember when they opened it up to the public, and not a one of them. You guys remember this? Like Sam Tolbert was like, I don't fucking believe it.
Yeah.
Like this, and he was sending us messages at E3 or while he was at E3 trying to cover shit. And he was just telling us, man, I can barely move. Like it's shoulder to shoulder. I can't do anything. I can't get to my appointments on time. And here's my question, and this is for everybody here. It's been 3 years, right? And Jeff Keighley, as Stephanie has said, has done has worked as hard as he can to kind of fill that void, and he's done an admirable job. Is there a space for E3 anymore? Like I mean, we know Sony's not going to go back. We know Microsoft's not going to go back.
Maybe they will. I mean,
do they roll Jeff in? Like, do they kind of like combine what Jeff Keighley's been doing?
I mean, a lot of Summer Games Fest stuff was just him retweeting something from the Summer Games Fest account. Like, there was really only the one actual show.
But also, like, to
that show has millions of people concurrently watching it. Though.
To Stephanie's point earlier, like the trajectory of E3 before it stopped was already a lot of the stuff that the gaming audience, your enthusiasts, think about when it comes to E3 was already actually separating from E3, right? A lot of these presentations were not at E3. They were digital broadcasts. Nintendo for a long time had not actually done a show, in the Nokia Theater or whatever, right? They'd been doing the Nintendo Direct, and more companies were bad slip up there, were taking that same approach. And I don't think there's a world where E3 gets back big in-person press conference. That's not happening anymore. It's done, I think.
I mean, I don't on the press conference side. You're probably correct. I think that's an unnecessary expense that companies have. Sony has found success with State of Play. Nintendo has found success with Nintendo Direct. Devolver has found success making fun of those.
Yes.
And then you have, and then
Ubisoft stumbling a bit.
I didn't.
Ubisoft and EA are kind of...
But what ReedPop has done, and the success that ReedPop has had with PAX, can be replicated in Los Angeles.
And that's what I agree. I think as a trade show,
dropping in PAX as an industry show, absolutely not. But you're dropping in PAX. Now, what I hope they do is something like Gamescom, where it's 2 days of business and then the rest of the days are consumer.
Yeah, I really hope
that would be
But you're dropping it into a busy metropolitan area. So, you have, I think, a population of something like 25 million in a 100-mile radius, maybe more than that. And will they sell fan tickets? Yeah, probably. Will vendors see a value in that, or if they see a value in that over PAX West or PAX East, like, are they cannibalizing one of their other shows? Because you remember PAX used to have PAX San Antonio.
Yeah.
And that never took off, even in the populated area that it was in, it never took off. It was a really small show, and if you went there as an indie, you were a bigger fish in a smaller pond. Whereas at E3, you would probably never be able to afford to go, right? And then that's the other thing. Given that this is basically an ESA fundraiser event, does it become cost prohibitive to the same publishers and indie development studios that are buying booths at East and West? Because if you look at East and West, and we just did an analysis of this at my agency, if you look at East and West, the number of media that's top tier, what we consider top tier media, your IGNs, your Entertainment Weeklies, your GameSpots, your Game Informers, these are your big marquee mainstream websites for games, right?
Yeah.
The amount of people, the amount of top tier, what we consider top tier media has decreased in the last 5 to 6 years going to PAX East and West. And the amount of people those websites send, if they go at all, like IGN used to roll 10, 12, 15 deep at PAX East 10 years ago, or in the first few years of PAX East, and they used to have a stage, and they used to have a camera crew, and they used to do a big production, and there was content the whole weekend. This year, they sent 2 people to the show because they were on panels, and those people did not make appointments with PR to see games. Now, if you're a publisher and you're using these shows as a media vehicle to drive not just fan engagement, because you have the fans of the show, but like really boost your message out there, because a bunch of press, you hire me, and then I get a bunch of press your game, and then they write about your game. That's not happening at the same level that it was 5 years ago. And so from a pure earned media ROI perspective, the value has dropped significantly. And we've done data analysis of our schedules and the coverage we got in 2016, 17, 18, 19, we skipped, 2021, and then this last PAX East that we all just went to. And it was, it's so we're advising our clients to come up with different ways to engage the audience and different ways to get their sort of brand awareness to have a further echo effect, a louder echo effect, because it's just not there. So if and part of that is because no first parties or super major publishers are going to PAX anymore. You don't have Microsoft. Sony pulled out in 2020. I don't know that Sony had even been there before that, maybe, but you have the bigger publishers pulling out of a show like that. So then the media then follows, and it's less of the media that are going to get big stories. The content that the media that does go, the quantity of content that is produced from one editorial team of the show has dropped. Whereas before on GameSpot, for example, you'd have a weekend full of fucking everything that their team of 5 to 7, 8, 9, 10 people saw, and you just have this huge blitz of video game content. And now you're lucky if you get the top 5 things you saw at PAX while I was there for a couple of days. And God forbid that my clients are not on that list, because then it's oh fuck, because that's probably the only chance we're going to get to, and I'm using GameSpot interchangeably, it's just not actually GameSpot, but this is just sort of the trend we've been seeing. So if you drop PAX into the E3, shadow, the E3 footprint, and it's a fan show, what does that look like if your vendors aren't showing up? What does it look like if it's cost prohibitive? So I have a lot of questions. I'm optimistic. I hope that it works. As to John, you said, do they roll Keeley in? I don't know that Keeley can be rolled in. He's a force of nature at this point as far as the audience that he can command. So I have a lot of questions, and I'm really interested to see how it turns out. And I hope it turns into an opportunity where I can do great work for my clients. That's kind of where professionally it starts and stops for me. But just as an industry observer over the years, I'm hopeful, but I'm also sort of too wary at this point.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was dead and not coming back. This announcement really kind of threw me for a loop. Especially
I had heard about this a couple months ago. I knew this. I knew this was coming. Yeah.
As Derek said, like, you know, we were like, man, it's been kind of a slow news week, and then it's like, never mind, E3's coming back, and Derek's like, well, shit, like, there we go. You know, it's I'm glad it's coming back, because you know, I've been to multiple PAXs, we all have, but I never got the chance to go to E3, and I would like to try to go to E3 as a content creator, as a member of the press, not somebody who's just going there to kind of go. Right. Yeah. Thank you, CJ. It's a much better word. But you know, it's interesting, Stephanie, the point you made about like, you know, trying to get, you know, for example, like, you know, out of the big outlets, you know, like, you know, here's the top 5 things we saw, you know, it's interesting looking at that from the small content creator side of the fence. Like, we would go to PAX and Derek, we'd put up like 20 interview videos on YouTube.
We're talking 2018, 2019 pre-COVID too, right? Before everybody had pulled out. And admittedly, a lot of what we focused on was, you know, indie devs, right? Like smaller folks to like, also AA kind of publishers. But
a lot of the shows we went to didn't have a huge AAA presence either.
Yeah. But like, I mean, that was part of the fun for us, was I really liked, because I was gonna hear one way or another about everything that came out of Sony, everything that came out of Bandai Namco, everything that came out of, you know, Square Enix, whatever. But going through like that indie mega booth is always a big deal for me, because you get exposed to so much there.
I loved the indie mega booth.
The indie mega booth, and then again the industry networking outside and around these events is really the reason folks like us go.
Yeah.
You know, again, like, to me, I see something like E3, and my concern from our perspective is small hobbyist content creators who do this show out of, you know, passion and not out of money.
We're not making any money off of this
like,
shit.
Would we see enough of an indie presence there with any sort of attention to make it worth our time? Because nobody cares what we have to say about, you know, whatever.
God of War or whatever.
Right, exactly. But if we can highlight some of these interesting indie titles, that's a whole different story. But also, like, I've just seen so many media folks, more than content creators, journalists, reacting to all of their information getting leaked. And there's a certain distrust I don't know that they'll ever get back. So it's like, I might go and meet some other like streamers and podcaster folks, but if I'm not also meeting like serious journalists, that's a lot of the fun is lost to me. So, you know,
for me, I think the biggest question is going to be just how fractured things are going to get.
Yeah.
Is it still just going to be like, because Keighley has said Summer Games Fest is going to be an in-person event next year.
Yeah.
So
I missed that. What the fuck?
Wow,
okay.
Holy shit.
No, he confirmed that like right after the stream this year. So it's
we did sort of a trial run this year.
Yeah, we're basically going to have like dueling conferences that are in-person events between what Keighley wants to do for Summer Games Fest and E3. There's a huge question mark of who's going to actually show up, who's going to show up to what. Because like a lot of these companies seem like they're pretty content to just do their own streams whenever. And, you know, I remember this year, like there was stuff that was just getting added. Like a lot of stuff was presented, you know, announced ahead of time. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, Square Enix is doing a Final Fantasy 25th anniversary stream, or hey, Capcom's doing a 10th anniversary Dragon's Dogma stream.
Yeah.
And those things just popped up. And like, I don't know, that's a huge logistical question, and it's like it's expensive, and you're gonna be pushing, you know, groups really thin, trying to cover more than one. If there's stuff that needs to be covered at both, and you know, trying to get times to get interviews in, and then also potentially both being open to the public and stuff too, further complicates that, and it's like. It seems like it could be a huge mess. I'd love for it to go well, and you know, for it to work out for everybody. But I really think it's going to be really difficult for both of them to coexist especially if they can't get some of the big like platform holders back at them.
Yeah. Well, I'm I'm super speculating here because although I do work with a lot of the folks behind the scenes to help them decide if they're going. I think from just a business standpoint, you have two parties that want to make it work, and you have two groups, whether it's Summer Games Fest and what Steve's doing, and Repopper Experience, very talented event producers that have done very well with PAX, right? So I think you're going to have two groups of people that know how it works, that want to ultimately come, figure out a way to hopefully work together and make it work, whether or not. So like Jeff does opening night live for Gamescom, right? To kick off the Gamescom show. Potentially you have a situation where Summer Games Fest could kick off E3, but if he has an in-person component, I don't know what that looks like or how that works. And maybe that could change. Maybe the plans change. I don't know. But you do have well-intentioned people, and you have proven success and talented teams working for the sole purpose of, producing a great event for people who are fans. And I know that there's a lot of very cynical people on the internet who think that, they're in this business and blah, blah, blah. Look, there's a lot of different jobs out there. And I got to tell you, between this and doing PR for healthcare, gasoline, weapons, and tires, I'd very much rather work in video games. And I've always done my best to make the best thing happen for the audience, for the client, for teammates, for partners. So I think it may sound like blind optimism, but I think you're going to see these people come together and see something, hopefully, that's pretty spectacular next year. And I'm, fingers crossed that egos and money doesn't get in the way of creating something that could be ultimately successful for everybody. That's the
I want to thank, like, no matter what happens with Summer Games Fest going forward, I want to thank Jeff Keighley for giving me in my opinion, the most entertaining, finest moment in games over the past several years, in the form of the Arc 2 trailer. Because that was awesome. That was great, with starring Vin Diesel, and that
surprise Vin Diesel was a lot.
Seeing Vin Diesel in a video game riding a dinosaur is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Right. I can just pull it up.
That was fantastic. Justin's reaction to that, I will never forget. We were streaming it, and I think Justin almost died.
Well, the first time, so the first one was the reveal during the Game Awards.
Yeah,
and that one I straight up lost my mind.
I thought Justin was choking on something. Like that was fucking fantastic. And then all the but in all seriousness, like Jeff deserves a lot of praise for what he's done. That kind of gap he's filled for the industry over the summer for the past 3 years. And whatever E3 does moving forward, like I hope we don't see some kind of like competition between Summer's Games Fest and E3. I would love to see something like presented, but like kind of like a unified front, right? Like something...
I don't know. Keighley seems pretty intent on taking on E3. Like he has had a lot of really snarky.
Keighley's tasted blood.
Yeah, he's had a lot of really snarky comments the second any of this comes up, and is real quick to remind.
I'm not even
everybody.
blaming him. I'm just saying the man is tasted.
I'm just saying. I think the odds of it being a unified front are low at the.
I don't know. I don't know.
Here's what's going to happen at the Game Awards this year. He's going to have Joseph Ferris come out and say, "Can I just say fuck E3? Fuck E3." He's going to flick off the camera. Like that's what Joseph Ferris is going to do. We are getting close to our sign-off time here. We didn't even get to games that are being delayed. We can hit that next week.
Yeah.
We can hit that next week. So we've got a few housekeeping items here. We have some big guests coming up in June, one of which I can't say yet. one of the biggest guests we've ever had. Very excited about that. I can't say who it is
Coming
yet.
Up when?
Either next week or the week after.
Okay.
I'll have that nailed down by this weekend, but it's going to be legitimately one of the biggest guests we've ever had. So I'm very excited about that. Also, on the 21st, Rebecca Valentine, former member.
Was Reb coming back on?
Yeah, Reb coming back on. No, Stephanie, Reb used to be a permanent cast member of SDGC before
she blew up, really. But
yeah, before she blew up, but Reb is going to be back on to talk about Live Alive.
He's amazing.
And Reb has a special place in our hearts on this podcast, and always will. There was one time, Stephanie, where she said, "I have a surprise for everyone on the podcast tonight," and she wouldn't tell me what it was. And before the show started, she had her camera off, and I was like, "Why is her camera off?"
I'm gonna find this clip.
And then she turned her camera on, and she had a Gungeon beanie, and she had drawn a stubbly beard all over her face in a marker, and she was like, "Hi, I'm John." She was like, "I'm
Final Fantasy VI is the best video game ever."
Yeah,
and anyone who disagrees with me, I'm gonna hit them with my weed whacker.
It was really fucking great. Reb is just a wonderful person, and
awesome.
also. So it's still a few months off, but for Extra Life this year, we're going to be doing it a little early. And check this out.
I don't even know if it's going to be Extra Life. We're not sure if that's the specific charity we're going to do this year.
Right.
So many people do Extra Life. It's a great cause, but we might,
Well, whatever it is, we're going to do 2 consecutive days with a 12-hour stream each day, and this time in one physical location for the first time ever, we're going to have the entire podcast.
We might have all 7 of us. We'll see.
It's looking like we might have everyone. It's like Smash Brothers. Everyone is here. It's gonna be fucking fantastic. I absolutely am over the moon. I can't fucking wait for that. Stephanie, you have been such a wonderful, engaging guest. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been an absolute treat.
Thank you. I'll come on your podcast and talk about porn anytime.
Oh, absolutely. Please. Yeah, we could always use more porn talk on this podcast. Wait, Finn's in chat. Hey, Finn, what's up, buddy? Yeah, Finn is very sorry he couldn't be here tonight. He's a big fan of yours, Stephanie.
John?
But yeah,
okay.
So what's up?
No, I lost you for a moment is all.
Oh, okay. Derek, you'll never lose me, buddy.
Oh.
You're never gonna lose me. I'm always gonna be right here. Right here. So that's all the time we got. Don't forget, this Sunday we have episode 2 of me and Finn doing Dual Daddies live. We're doing it every Sunday now because Finn for the next few months won't be able to be on the podcast on Thursday nights, and also just because we love talking about video games and daddy shit. So we're going to be doing that every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Episode 2 on Sunday. As always, we'll be back next week. We got we got some reviews coming up as well. Of course, as Square Enix influencers, we get a lot of Square Enix codes.
Mistake.
And what's that?
I said that was a mistake on their part, but
yeah, sorry, Square Enix. I'm sorry for us in advance. But we generally get all the Square Enix review codes, and as this is a big year for Square Enix, we have a lot of reviews that you're going to be seeing from us come up throughout the year. I've had 2 old fashions tonight. I can hardly talk anymore. So we are going to go ahead and log off here. Thank you again to Stephanie Tinsley for being such a wonderful and engaging guest. And to everybody listening right now, remember, guys, kindness costs nothing. Be good to each other. We will see you next week.